We know that healthcare executives have their sights on high reliability, just culture, and psychological safety. In true capstone fashion, we're all about helping simplify the complex and helping entire healthcare organizations execute successfully on big, bold initiatives such as these. One such way that we can help is through our upcoming Healthcare Executive Forum. In its 13th year, this forum has been helping healthcare executives learn proven approaches for executing successfully on big, bold initiatives. So, whether you're just starting your journey to high reliability or well on your way, this event has something for everyone. Our time honored commitment is that every attendee leave with an actionable and impactful plan that they can just start when they get back to the office the next day. The event is on June 18th and 19th. In Madison, Wisconsin, and you can go to capstoneleadership.net and under the resources page, look for the details on our upcoming events. Plan now for you and your executive team to attend.
So if they've left us, whether it's retirement or resignation, we have an Astera alumni group. It's a database that we keep track of. We recruit our volunteers from that list. We might re-recruit them back, which has occurred. I can think of 2 employees in the last month that we have re-recruited back from that list. We will send emails just to them. We just brought an alumni group in. We're building a brand new cancer center. They got a sneak peek of the cancer center before it opens.
Welcome to Culture Change RX, the podcast for healthcare professionals that are committed to creating a thriving workplace culture, improving the experiences of employees and patients, and ultimately unlocking their organization's next level of potential. I'm Sue Tetzloff, your host and co-founder of Capstone Leadership Solutions. Join me and my insightful guests each week as we share actionable insights for navigating the crucial people side of the business of healthcare. Subscribe now for a weekly dose of Culture Change RX. Now let's dive into this week's conversation where culture change takes center stage.
Welcome to another episode of Culture Change RX. And today is one of those episodes where I just love having a guest in the studio. When I do solo episodes and I'm like blah, blah, blahing to myself and out there to the mystery world, it's just nice to see a face and have a conversation. And I have Amy with me in the studio today. And as usual, we start with having our guests introduce themselves. And then we have a theme or topic selected for our conversation today. And we'll dive into that after the introduction. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you for having me, Sue. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to our conversation today. Just a little bit about me. I'm Amy Yaeger. I have been in healthcare since 2010. I have been in the education role. I have been in the marketing director role. I've been in the clinical director role. So I have a varying experience. Prior to that, I was a public school teacher and taught 6th through 12th graders, as well as the technical college level adult. And the two, public education and healthcare, have a lot in common. And I've brought all the things that I've learned through those different roles to what I do today. Born and raised in Wisconsin. I'm the oldest of 8 children, which will explain my personality to anyone who works with me.
Yes.
And I've been a leader my whole life. I was nominated to be at a leadership camp when I was in 8th grade. And it's probably birth order, being the oldest. It's just very natural to me. I love working with people and with and through to get things done. And it's just something that I've always had a passion for. And the marketing and branding and creative side is something that's always filled my bucket too. But when I was teaching technical college, I taught spreadsheets and Excel. And so I've got that side of my brain. Yeah, I'm an Excel geek. I absolutely love it because I love data and all of that good stuff too.
Oh,
so
me too.
a mixed bag, but yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Wonderful. And your role right now, Amy, what are you doing?
Absolutely. I am the Director of Strategic Marketing and Business Development at Astera Health. I'm in a hybrid role. I have the good fortune of working for an employer that is extremely flexible. And I am able to get to Wadena, Minnesota as needed for events and all of that good stuff. But I oversee the marketing department, the foundation department, and our volunteer department and assist in our patient experience as well. So lots of hats at a small rural hospital. That's how it goes. And absolutely love the brand. I actually was their consultant and walked them through a rebrand from Tri-County Healthcare to Astera Healthcare. And that's how I came to know Astera and walking them through that process. And what is this new brand going to be? They were ready for a refresh. We're celebrating our 100th anniversary this year. Just last Thursday was our official 100th anniversary, and taking that journey and helping them lead them to this new brand. What an excellent experience. And I absolutely adore our new icon and logo and what we stand for. So it's been a wonderful journey. I've been working with Astera since 2021.
Fantastic. Yeah. And you're so right that when we work in small and rural healthcare, which is kind of what Capstone focuses on, and my career path has been that 30 plus years, primarily working with small and rurals and a lot in the Midwest. So we've got our familiarity with that. But yeah, I just love the multiple hats. My husband is a physician and he's in primary care, and he loves small and rural as well. For that reason, is he's not so pigeonholed of only doing outpatient family medicine. He's doing inpatient and nursing home and all that, and it just gives him that diversity as well. So a lot of good things there if you're a diversity seeker.
Absolutely. Every day is different.
Every day is different, and I put on the different hat many times in a day. So I think your current role and what you've been doing most recently certainly aligns really great, Amy, with our conversation we wanted to have today. What you coined it as is bringing your brand promise to the front line and really connecting your brand promise in the hearts and minds of your people and the mission, vision, values, those kind of things. So where would you like to start with this? I think it's just a delightful conversation to have and a great focus for organizations.
Mm-hmm. I really see it in relation to the customer life cycle. You have your employee life cycle. So I feel like bringing our brand to the front line starts before they're even an employee, and what they see and hear from us in social media and all of that good stuff. And my role as a marketing director, and I'm sure most marketing directors could relate to this, we have definitely taken more of a focus on recruitment and helping the HR department and joining that team in those efforts. When I was first in healthcare, that really wasn't the case. HR owned all of that. And now we're truly integrated as a team to try to help those recruitment efforts. So before they even come to us as an employee, what do we want them to know? What do they need to know? At a few of the places that I've been associated with, whether it be a consultant or as an employee, we've used the predictive index. They probably have the technical skills to do the job, but do they have cultural fit with us? And the predictive index has been such a great tool. They fill in those little bubbles as a part of the application process. It kicks out their personality and character and how I can better lead them as a manager as well. It's such an excellent tool, and one that I am very familiar with and use and look at my whole team as a picture once they're on my team as well. And we're working on an HR director campaign right now and trying to recruit that right person for such an important role. Talk about leading culture, right? What does that recruitment effort look like? And we've sat around the table and brainstormed, how do we get the right person in this role to do this work? Because we all know it's a huge job, right? And enroll. And when you're trying to recruit, we have more employees that are hybrid than we've ever had before, or remote even. And having the flexibility, and do their values align with our values? There's a lot to look for in that. So we're constantly putting out value messaging, whether it's in our social media or our ads or whatever that might be. So we've tried to be really human centered with our employees when it comes to those recruitment efforts, and actually having a person who owns recruitment. We didn't have that 2 years ago. So we have a person who's just focused on recruitment. She has reduced our openings to barely nothing. This is the best position.
Fantastic.
We have 0 travelers in our organization. We certainly have locum providers. Yeah. But for the first time in years, we're at a spot where our message, whether it be a career fair that we're doing with students or whatever, we're really getting everybody on the same page. So bringing all those stakeholders to the table to have these conversations, having an owner in recruitment, what a huge advantage for me, because I have somebody I can go to as my owner of recruitment and bounce some ideas off of them. And we're not just putting out stock art and stock ads out of Canva and using our networks within our organization. Our COO, who's going to oversee this position, what's she putting out in her network, and helping our leaders to, let's update your LinkedIn profiles, guys.
Yeah.
super basic stuff on that whole journey before they're even an employee. What are we all putting out?
Nice, nice. When you're talking about bringing your brand promise out to the world to applicants, so that journey of your employee starts before they become an employee and they're just thinking about being an employee. I was thinking about one of our partner hospitals that we work with in northern rural Minnesota. I love that when I see ads come out on social media for, let's say it's their environmental services department is hiring a new person in the environmental services, they actually put the current employees that work there in the ad that says, join us. They're not joining
Mhm.
they're joining us. When it's the actual faces. So it's not stock photos. And when you mentioned that, I had a vision in my mind of those exact kind of things coming out. And I think that consumers and also applicants are a little more savvy now of using social media and going to check a website and a Facebook page or whatever when they're thinking about going to use this hospital or this clinic or applying at a job. They'll scamper around a little bit on the internet and they want to see. And I think the stuff we're putting out every day, we're not necessarily sure who's going to use that for what purpose.
Absolutely. All of that is true, Sue.
Ah, yeah. That's how I behave.
Absolutely.
So I'm
We all
assuming
do
if
that.
I behave like that, Amy, other people must behave like that. Could be an outlier there, but I don't think I'm so
No,
abnormal.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Yeah. What does it look like? You talked about the employee journey and that whole experience from getting your brand promise out to them in that very early part of your interactions with them. Are there other points that you consider to be really key points where your brand promise is really an important or certain tactics you use to get that into the hearts and minds of existing employees?
Sure. So once they're in the door from day one, onboarding, that was something that we looked at a couple years ago. What does it look like from the minute they come in the door? Do they know where they're going? Do they even know how to get to the meeting room that we're going to have our big onboarding sessions at? And how do they meet the people? And what kind of lay out the red carpet stuff are we doing? At my last place, we gave them a pair of socks on their first day and said, we're going to knock your socks off.
That's
Really
cool.
setting the expectations. They were branded socks, of course, you know, and just what does that look like? Who's at the table with them during that orientation period? Because again, there are no just us. Everybody's important. And we all touch that new employee. And what messages do they need to get in that first day? Day one, that they have all the usual stuff that we have to do for regulation
Yeah.
purposes. And then in the afternoon, we actually do our culture for 4 hours. It's our customer experience and what we expect from them as employees in our organization. We use AIDIT. What is AIDIT? You're
Mhm.
going to be rounded on by your manager. And what is
Mhm.
the expectation for that? What's customer service recovery at Astera Health look like? And what are you empowered to do? We have a proceed until apprehended philosophy, courtesy of Joe Ty, that
Mhm.
we utilize. And so we set that all into motion day one. And that I think is really important for them to just get to know the faces of the people that they're with, feed them lunch. And I go in and I do my brand talk with them. And you're going to be who the patients talk about, no matter what role you're in. And they might call you out on social media. Could be good, could be bad. What do we want that to look like? And how do you want to be treated as a patient or because we're each other's customers as well internally. What does that look like? And just walking through all the key processes. That was another thing. If I get hit by a bus tomorrow, does this team know how to function through this? And do we have checklists and all of that stuff and making them comfortable in their position? And what does the first 30 days look like? What does the first 90 days look like? And just highlighting the amazing things that we're doing and what they're going to see and how we communicate. We have an internal communications grid of all the ways that we communicate with them. And if you're having an issue with that mode of communication, who do you go to? What does that look
Mhm.
like? So that's been really helpful because you'll often hear, I didn't know that. I didn't get that communication. That two-way street of how do we communicate here at Astera Health and setting that tone right away at day one. So I think
Mhm.
those are the first things that we do in onboarding as they become employees, sharing the story. We do the Daisy Award. And how do we let people know about that? We started recording those and putting those out on social media. Our community loves to hear those nominations. And there's hardly a dry eye at each of those as
Mhm.
those nurses are recognized for their unbelievable service. And we have
Mhm.
something called the Star of Astera Award. Anyone can be nominated and anyone can do the nominating. And each month we recognize a top employee as a Star of Astera. Also share those out on social media. They do it very well because we love to hear those stories and what was it that they did? And it's really great. Celebrating the milestones. I think that's been a challenge for us. You're clicking day to day and you're like just trying to get through and you forget to do the celebrating.
Mhm.
That has been a challenge for us and taking the
That's
time to
common
do that.
everywhere though, Amy. Like, we've worked with dozens of healthcare organizations. It's amazing how that elevating gratefulness to that level of celebration often enough and purposeful celebration, not just party to party, but
Yeah.
really party on purpose. It's so funny how hard that is to hardwire
Mm,
and make it sincere and powerful and impactful and meaningful. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, just don't go have pizza. And I think for us, it's harvesting those wins and milestones. That was a thing that we were missing too. We're getting better. We still have a gap there, but how do you harvest all of those wins effectively so they cascade up and down the organization? And we had a provider who just delivered her 1,000th baby. We had no idea that milestone was coming. Once we found out, oh my gosh, we need to get this out. That is such a huge achievement. And it's talk about reduce anxiety in patients knowing that your provider has delivered 1,000 babies naturally. Those were just natural births. That doesn't include the
Mhm.
C-sections. Like, what? This is a
Yeah.
huge deal. And
Yeah.
so I think that's been okay, let's look at the next year. What's coming up that we need to prepare for? And if we miss it, okay, what do we do to celebrate that huge
Yeah.
milestone?
I think we're humble in healthcare, right?
Oh,
I think so humble, and it's just
great
like
point.
common to us maybe, or it's just another day, it's just another birth. And so I think that taking pause and taking count maybe it's an important part of it to allow us to celebrate. Lots of things
Yeah,
to
that's a great
celebrate.
point, Sue. The tooting your own horn, that's not why we're in this work, right? We're
Well,
in
that's
this
how
to take
aided
care of
is
people.
hard, right? You mentioned aided. I think people have a hard time introducing themselves in that way that manages up themselves. And it's not for them, it's to put others at ease. Like you say, the 1,000 birth. That puts some confidence in
Mhm.
the mom to be and the family that, wow, we're in good hands.
Absolutely. And then as far as some of the other things that we do, I think we're always reiterating our purpose and our why, and we'll try to get those and harvest those at events. So we, as a part of our 100th anniversary, we're going to celebrate with our staff on Saturday, the 15th, and celebrate this huge milestone in our community and being a healthcare provider for 100 years. And how do we harvest why? What is their purpose? Why do they do what they do every day? And I heard it yesterday and I thought, what a great idea to harvest your whys and put those up on the wall.
Mhm.
So using our star icon and having folks, this is why I'm in this. And not just to humbly put it away somewhere in their head, but getting that out. Yeah, that's another one of my whys. And that reminder of
Mhm.
why we do this and proceeding until apprehending and just do what's right for the patient and for your peers. And we'll cover it later. And what did we learn? And we had an after action review yesterday regarding the IV supply shortage and what we learned from that. And okay, now the next step is how do we share this story with the staff of what we learned from the
Mhm.
outcomes of this event and what changed? What have we
Mhm.
we're permanently making conservation something that we're going to be doing. And how do we get that out to the whole team? And that cascade is so important to
Mhm.
get that culture, not just at that leadership level. We're great at that, right? It's how do we get it to everybody else? And our intranet is a key piece for sure. I think for everybody. And then email, that's obviously another top form of communication and in our rounding and our employee forums that bringing that group together. And we have 6 different clinics. They're spread out in different communities. And how do you bring all these people together frequently to hear that same message. So we do employee forums, and they will join us by Teams or in person. They get the option to do that so that we can accommodate our nearly 500 folks that work in our organization. And that's been Teams. And we can thank COVID for that, right?
Technology, certainly we're able to leverage it, especially in our remote rural areas. It's just a reality. Even our work, we're very social in our work at Capstone. We love to be boots on the ground with our partners that we work with, but they're all rural. And so like when I was out in New Hampshire, it was 3 airplane rides and then a car rental, 2 hours. And then their healthcare organizations are all spread out all over windy roads on around mountains. And it's hard to gather other than
100%.
virtually. It's a barrier to gather. So leveraging that, but doing it in such a way that still feels good, right? And is personalized and feel interactive and engaging. There's a spectrum, isn't there? In how that can be used for education or communication or other purposes of organizations in ways that are appealing or not so appealing to your audience.
Yeah. I want them to want to come to the forum. Like, I get to go to the forum today, not I have to go to the forum today. And what does that content look like to be able to? I think that's really tough, especially generationally. Who's sitting in that room? They all want their information differently. How are we speaking to that? And like you said, the engaging content, it is a challenge, especially when they are on Teams and some are in the room, and that's tough.
We use a lot of employee-driven teams in our partner organizations aligned. So like patient experience, have an employee-driven team for patient experience. And I know when they're bringing out training and campaigning and communication to their peers, it's by employees for employees. So that has an appeal in and of itself. It's not like leaders doing it to them. It's their peers. Tend to really love that just because it's their peers that are bringing it together and making it happen. But then if they create videos and it's their actual employee peers that are in there and it's a little fun and quirky, maybe even, and maybe not over polished and produced, those seem to be wildly popular in our partner. Like they send them to us so we can check them out and we get a good feel from them too. So I can see why their employees would, using that creatively and impactfully. I find that employees get really creative with that.
Yeah, we have an employee committee. They're our frontline team of staff. And I think one of the challenges is how you set the tone and expectations of that employee focus committee, employee engagement committee. We didn't have a leader on the team that was representing the leadership team. So we really didn't have a conduit and a way to align all the arrows. So that was definitely a key learning for us.
We tried some of that. And also, not only that is they can run off that whole proceed until apprehended. They can run off in all sorts of directions that maybe isn't aligned with why they were gathered. So having a very clear purpose is important. But also we've tried it without a leader on a team. And what we also find is they get slowed down because they don't know how to navigate the bureaucracy. Like they don't know how to even maybe sometimes reserve a room or to access resources or change a policy. Let's say policies involved in something that they're working on. And so they get slowed down and frustrated because they just don't know. And so one leader can just be that voice and that navigator for them. The leader doesn't have to come up with all the ideas and make all the decisions and do all the work for sure. They just facilitate and have a role of helping them get things done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we tried that time and time again, thinking someday it would work. And it just, Yeah.
We also have a number that staff can call, and it's directly to our CEO. And he has a greeting message on there that gives the state of the hospital. And they can call that phone number and hear his message. And then they can leave a message if they have a concern or a question or something like that.
Is there a certain name for that line, like a hotline, a bat line?
It's called Joel's High Five.
Okay.
Yeah. So we're trying as hard as we can to give them multiple ways. So you have employees who like the phone, you have some people who like the computer, you like some people who like the in-person, lots of journeys and paths to get there.
Yeah. Yep. You mentioned rebranding And we had a partner organization go through some rebranding in the last couple of years. It was like their outcome, like you're describing, was fantastic. And also, it was two critical access hospitals that actually were part of a joint corporation for more than 30 years, but they acted so independently separate. And then they used their work of their transformation initiative to change their culture. So they use that like beforehand, and then they realize that they're now need to rebrand as one, and they were more alike than different now as they went through this initiative together, and it brought them together. And I can see that during that, like what I felt with them was during that rebranding, and especially that go live of the rebranding in those first months, that I mean, their brand and their brand promise and their new look and feel and messaging and all of that was so out there in so many ways and in big ways with their community, with their employees. But that probably the dust settles where you can't keep up that level of like constant messaging and whatever, and the dust settles. What does that look like for you? Like, where are you guys at there, Amy?
Not only did we rebrand, we built a brand new hospital. So in March of
Boy.
23, yeah, big endeavor, right? I would say the honeymoon phase, that with a brand new building, brand new brand, it's easy. Now
Yeah.
we're to the point where it's like, okay, how do we maintain this excitement and engagement for this new brand? The brand promise stayed the same. We want to be your trusted partner for life. Throughout your whole journey, what does that look like? As the marketing director working with our food service line, what does it mean for me to be their trusted partner, and how in what we're doing every day, what does that look like? And number one, I think it takes time. We have to revisit it. You can't let it go. And because you hit that wall and it's stagnant. And so it's constantly trying to come up with these new methods for communication and making it a two-way street. Right now, we're looking at capturing the innovation and the suggestions or feedback from staff. We do our employee survey. Communication comes up every single time as a weakness that we have. It's been like that in every organization that I've ever worked with, and it never goes away.
We see it everywhere too.
We all suffer with this. So it's that constant, okay, what do we need to do to capture this? And once we capture it, how does the employee know what we've done with it? That's where we're stumbling right now, is how does the employee know what we're doing when they tell us something? So if you tell us that go as basic as the coffee maker, there isn't an option for us in this department for our patients, and they're begging for coffee, what happened with that suggestion? Where did it go? Because there's still no coffee maker. Do we have a reason why there's no coffee maker? Just something as, basic as that, to something as big as, okay, you don't move what you don't measure. What are our KPIs that will help us determine if our brand promise is going to where it's supposed to be going? We're definitely always in that journey. And how do we make that important to the front line? So for the very first time last year, we are actually putting up measures. It's in our cafeteria for the patients to see. It's in the cafeteria for our staff to see. It's a big screen that gives, okay, this is where we're at on our colon cancer screenings. We're not making the goal. Okay, now what? So I've got at least now we have transparency in those measures, but now it's taking it to that next step. Okay, we said we'd be your trusted partner. We need people to get their colon cancer screenings done. How do we make that happen when we're not making the goal? So we're transparent. We have a little racetrack that is our patient experience, so they can see exactly, this is the department, this is where they're at, this is where their goal. It visually shows them where they're at in their race to a great patient experience. And we're always revamping that because we want to make it easily readable. And at first, people were really like, I don't think we should put up, these scores should not go up. No. And for patients, we don't want patients to. So there was some pushback. It wasn't a lot. So I really think that's been important, in that constant reminder of where we're at in this whole brand promise journey.
Yeah. Measurably. Yeah. I love that. I remember in the hospital where I was a leader and we first put up our goal boards in our departments and our ICU, the board, the only place where we could put it was at the main entrance. It's the only like wall we had to do that. And the staff were like, every patient and every visitor, every staff member that walks through here is going to be able to see how we're doing in these measures of service and quality and whatever. And we're like, yeah, like we need to be accountable to that. That's accountability. We can't hide this. And they should know it. Just like
Mhm.
they should know 1,000 deliveries. They should know the good stuff,
Mhm. Mhm.
but then they might, and that's just accountability. So, well, anything else? Like we could probably go on for hours about this, couldn't we? And I
Mhm.
said 30 minutes goes by really fast, Amy, and here we are.
It
Does
does.
it
I
go
think
by
the
fast?
last thing would be just so if they've left us, whether it's retirement or resignation, have an Astera alumni group. It's a database that we keep track of. We recruit our volunteers from that list. We might re-recruit them back, which has occurred. I can think of 2 employees in the last month that we have re-recruited back from that list. We will send emails just to them. We just brought an alumni group in. We're building a brand new cancer center. They got a sneak peek of the cancer center before it opens. So,
Beautiful. I'm sure
making
the
them
foundation plays into that too.
absolutely. Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Why
Because,
not?
yep, we need our volunteers, we need our donors, we need all of those. And the alumni group is a perfect group to go through for that. And that getting that database together was a little bit of a challenge as we've worked through different HR systems over the years and because you don't want anyone to feel left out or be left out. So that
Yeah.
alumni
Yeah.
group has been really awesome and just being authentic with them. And because some of them may have left because they didn't like their benefits package. And now we might be a little bit more competitive and we can have that conversation again. And that our culture is still great. We have a great facility and maybe give us another look, see if they've left in good
Mhm.
standing, they're going to be on that list. So
I love that so much. We call that taking an idea like that and running with it on your own. Somebody hearing you say that, say, we need that. And then just starting, we call that the case method, copy and steal everything.
yes,
But make it
steal
yours
away.
and make it better. And so I think you had a lot of gems here in our conversation today where people could say, wow, we're not doing that, or we're doing that, but not quite like that. And we could do it better. So I think there's a lot of that packed into today's conversation. Amy, I appreciate your time and willingness to be here and share with our audience some of these ways that we can bring our brand promises to our
Yeah.
people, whether they're not with us yet, whether they've left us or they're with us right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, yeah, that beautiful continuum.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Thanks for saying yes. Thank you, Amy.
Thanks for tuning in to Culture Change RX. If you found value in today's episode and you are a believer in fostering change in healthcare, join us in making a difference. Follow, rate, and review our podcast on your favorite platform. Share it with colleagues and your network. Together, we can make a lasting impact. Until next week, keep inspiring positive change.